I broke my back.
What do you mean by that?
My back is broken.
What do you mean, calm it down? It's a fight. Referees telling two fighters who want to fight to calm it down? He should calm down.
So he's like a clown in his show, man. He's not your guy.
Because Tyson Fury's back, and all you motherfuckers are under attack. Look, Eddie Hearn can say all what he wants. Who gives a shit what Eddie Hearn says? It's garbage.
Are you off your tits? Have you been smoking something?
Can you let me retire and be happy? Please, just please.
Bombs away from the Bronx Bomber!
Wanda! Let's go, baby! Let's go!
I'm through. They put somebody else up and give me an interview.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
You never give me a fair shake. HBO needs to fire you. You don't know shit about boxing. You ain't shit. You're not shit.
I wish I was 50 years younger and I'd kick your ass.
I got drunk, man.
Are you kidding?
No, you won the fight.
OMG, I am so excited.
Any of you radio personalities think you want smoke? Call me Mr. Chimney. I want smoke.
Yes. What is up? What is up, MCR family? Another Daily Edition show live on YouTube. Obviously, hit that like button, share the show, subscribe. If you listen on podcast form, drop that 5-star review and write that review out. I'll be honest, I haven't checked it like this whole week, so we might have some new ones. Maybe Rob, when I'm ranting about something, can look that up on, not right now, later. It's okay. I'll be honest, though, for a little housekeeping for the show. Rob was not supposed to be on this show. So I planned out a bunch of topics. I planned out all this stuff. But I feel like in a silly mood right now. It's Friday, and happy Friday, everyone. So this could easily get derailed into a litany of rabbit holes. So watch out. Like I said, smash the like button, share the show, subscribe. Gary, I see you in the chat saying, what up, Matty Millions? Let's skip the silly UFC stuff and just do a boxing show. Deal? Well, Gary, call in 323-870-4051. You can talk about whatever you want because, like I said, I feel like I'm in a silly mood today, and we might talk about some random shit. I feel it. But beside all that, the topics that we might get to, Eleider Alvarez landing a 7-figure, 7-fight, 2-year deal with Top Rank with the approval of Al Heyman. What? Interesting there. Amir Khan and Kell Brook back in the news, I guess. And tons of other fight announcements, rumors, updates for the boxing side, for the UFC side. Obviously, John Jones refusing VADA testing, the recommended VADA testing from the Cowboy State Athletic Commission. It's going to lead to some controversial takes from me personally, but that you guys are ready for that. Let's be honest. If you listen to the show for any period of time, you know my take on PED regulation. Beside that, Luke Rockwood moving up to 205. Big news for him. And at the very tail end of the show, I'm going to touch on some very big, massive changes to the sporting landscape right now that I'm going to do more research on. We're going to delve more into later, but I at least want to touch on it at the very end of the show. There is a U.S. bill in the middle of Congress right now being voted on, I think, in committee. That's going to affect a lot of international competitions for amateur boxing. And also the UFC class action lawsuit is continuing its progress, so to speak. So we're going to touch on that at the very, very end of the show. But Mr. Robert Hearns himself, the second cousin, twice removed of Eddie, a.k.a. nobody to Eddie. Rob, how you doing today?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm good, yeah. It's one of my boys' birthdays today, but, he's waiting on his computer game to download and get cracking on it, so thought I'd jump on.
Well, happy birthday to little Hearns himself. Hearns the third.
Yeah, there's more of us.
The whole clan. I mean, obviously, I have topics. Do you have anything you want to talk about beforehand? Like, is there anything that you feel like, hey, I know you have X, Y, and Z on the topic list, Matt, but sometime in this show I want to talk about this? Or, I don't know. I saw you obviously put hashtag White Trezor, Warrington Frampton, those hashtags as well when you were sharing the show. I don't know if you want to touch about the weigh-ins at all. I didn't really watch them, to be honest, to be fair. Anything off the top of the show you want to talk about?
No, I just want to say, thought Derek Chisora looked in fantastic shape. Best I've seen him in well, maybe the best I've seen him. He looked real good. Obviously, David Hayes had an influence. He's always, had the physique, the body to make men envious, I guess. But to see Derek Chisora maybe commit himself and really throw himself into a camp, it shows, I think, he's serious. Whether it's good enough to help, this new, I think he was 246. I think they both were 246, but Chisora was actually lighter by about 5 or 6 ounces, I think. But
I definitely saw the picture and a little bit of the video on IG of him with the suck my dick underwear.
Yeah.
God, that's not the greatest thing to say.
Chisora.
That is Chisora, man. I mean, of course. I mean, that's nothing new, but just damn, that is Chisora, man. He has been a guy that has just poked everyone's buttons throughout his career while making a ton of money. Shout out to him. And you're right, he did look lean. He looked, I would say, leaner than the Takum fight for sure, in my opinion.
Yeah. But supposedly this is a new Chisora. He's dropped the C out of the Derek, and it's just Derek. He's apparently sort of given himself, he's found God and this, that, and the other. So this time, I mean, please go over.
Wait.
What?
Yo, you just slid in. Oh, you found God when like 10 seconds ago we're talking about the whole suck my dick on his shorts.
Yeah, God moves in mysterious
God
ways.
bless us, everyone. Suck my dick, Dylan White. Yeah, I love it.
Mysterious ways. Yeah, I mean, I urge people just I'll perhaps try and share it on the MCR Instagram page, but go and check the throwing of the table from the first fight set to the music of Titanic. It is just,
which
we need more of that.
By the way, is just a fantastic meme. Like anything with Titanic music behind it is just hilarious.
There's a distinct lack of boxing ones. I've seen plenty of like last minute goals at soccer and just tons of stuff. But boxing needs, there's plenty. I mean, Tyson Fury getting up in the 12th, that needs to just suddenly kick in, his eyes open. And Celine Dion does her thing. It's just a great meme. So
the legend that is Celine Dion.
Oh, of course.
No disrespect.
Yeah, so back to Chisora maybe being a new man. There was no table throwing. There was no, it was.
Yeah, just suck my dick shorts.
Yeah. So yeah, he's toned it right down.
Shout out to Gary in the chat saying let's do a show on Keith Thurman. Again, Gary, call in 323-870-4051. You call in at any time. It is a casual Friday show in my opinion. Like this is casual Friday. Like we're just going to be here. Like semi going through the topics, and I don't know. Yes.
Or we don't do a Thurman show, and Gary don't call in.
Oh,
we already know that call.
Gary, you heard that? That sounded like some duck. I'm just saying. I don't think Rob really wants.
I want smoke.
I don't think he really wants that smoke.
Or was I daring him to bring the smoke?
No, the official judges say no. It's not. It's a no for me.
Serious.
Let's try to go to at least one topic that I have.
Yeah, all right.
Since we do have them and we do want to inform the public about stuff that's happening in combat sports. I know it's one that you probably care very little about. I'm gonna be honest. I know you.
Boxing. I love it all.
Oh, okay. Eleider Alvarez getting the getting the 7-figure deal for 7 fights, or for at most 7 fights for 2 years, which was a little bit confusing when I read that. Obviously, it's at most 7 fights or 2 years, whichever one goes first. That's the sort of deal. But the way it read was weird. And on top of that, the news that Al Heyman, per Yavon Mitchell, who's the co-promoter of Alvarez, saying that Al Heyman has signed off on it and given his blessing. On top of that, pay-per-view has been talked about. Eleider Alvarez would get a portion of all gate revenue, a portion of all pay-per-view buys. This is just a massive deal for a guy that I didn't think deserved it. I'm going to be completely honest. I know that might be controversial in some way, but 7-figure deal, including pay-per-view upside, gate revenue sharing. it just seems kind of shocking for Eleider Alvarez, right, Rob?
Oh, for sure. And, shout out to ESPN. Obviously, in so many homes, is it it's free, I guess, part of your cable package?
Quickly, Gary, I see you in the queue. We're going to talk about Alvarez as quickly as possible, then go to you and talk about Thurman, as you love Thurman so much.
But yeah, ESPN's part of everyone's cable package, I guess, pretty much.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. And so, yeah, shout out to, just like Fox, in everybody's home, bringing out pay-per-views. So, and like you say, is Alvarez really, who's he going to go up with for pay-per-view?
Quickly though, before I touch on that, I love the digs about US pay-per-view when the UK scene literally has 2 competing pay-per-views on BT and Sky. Bam.
Yeah, I mean, but they're 2 fantastic fights. I mean, who's tuning in for Alvarez versus whoever on pay-per-view? I mean, seriously.
No, of course. I mean, the Vajdic fight, they mentioned Bivol, Betterbrieve, and Eleider Alvarez are both in the same camp, so it's unlikely that they... What was that?
US pay-per-view, though?
No. Let me finish. Relax. Those are obviously the unifications that are on the table, right? Even a Badu Jack, like those sort of fights, Marcus Brown, other ones. None of them. 0 negative fights are pay-per-view in that division. Like there's not a single argument you can make. If Andre Ward and Sergey Kovalev could not even break 200,000 buys, there's no way on God's green earth that Eleider Alvarez and any of those names can do above Crawford Postal numbers, right? Like that does 25,000 pay-per-view buys, in my opinion. Alvarez versus Vajdic, Alvarez versus Bivol. Like, I'm sorry, that just does not exist in that realm. Maybe they got him with that, fully aware that they're not going to do pay-per-view. But again, I know I've talked about this before, the inflation of fighter pay recently. These top fighters are asking for so much, and now with Alvarez, he's guaranteed so much that they might have to do pay-per-view, unfortunately, to sort of offset some of the costs and production costs, so to speak, for the fight. I don't know what happens next. This is a weird time where all of a sudden these massive TV rights deals are being made, but yet pay-per-view is being pushed heavily for fighters that are not pay-per-view fighters.
I mean, for sure. Look, I throw a little shade at the US seemingly doing a bunch of pay-per-views. And like you said, we've got 2 on the same night competing networks and 2 fights that I want to watch. So... And
honestly, neither should be pay-per-view. Just putting that out there.
I mean, I get, as far as Frank Warren, he's got a world champion in his stable, and Frampton somewhat here, I guess, is like a big name. Yeah. But again, like you say, is it really pay-per-view? I guess not. But at £20, it's not massively hurting people's pockets that much. But remember, BT have already had £20 off people if they bought Wilder Fury this month. So... I heard on a podcast today that it's kind of the golden rule that you don't do 2 in a month, and they've done 2 in the space of like 3 weeks. So, and obviously we've got Dillian White and Chisora, which isn't for a title, which isn't, it's just a rematch, but a great rematch. I'm really, if it's anything like the first fight, count me in. I want to watch it. But like you said, these fighters now are at the point of, the money demanding, and especially I think in the UK market, the networks aren't sort of putting up that initial fee. So to pay these fighters sort of what they're warranted or what they think they earn or what they should earn, a lot of these fights are now going to, like the pay-per-view. So
it's really simple. I mean, was it the PBC on Fox deal was like 60 million, I want to say, right?
Yeah.
Let's say a Thurman
no, don't
Garcia.
say Thurman.
We're going to talk about soon, like a Thurman Garcia pay-per-view rematch, right? Or let's say not pay-per-view. Let's say it's on regular Fox, right? Their asking price is at least $2 to $3 million each, right? So you're talking about nearly what does that come out to? Nearly almost 10% of your yearly budget in one fight. That's why there's that hesitation from either the networks or promoters in making these fights on network TV. The fighters are asking too much. The reason why the UFC and other sides can get away with it because their top fighters aren't getting paid nearly as much as the top fighters in boxing. That's why we see, you know, the Danny Garcias of the world and Keith Thurmans of the world on the UFC side still fight on Fox, still get paid maybe $500,000 guaranteed if they're lucky. It's just different in boxing. These fighters are asking for $2, $3, $4 million for these big fights guaranteed, and the budget just can't hold that throughout the year and put up amazing fights throughout, especially with the litany of schedule they are trying to put out. You know, 24, I think, or 23, 22 Fox events and plus FS1 events are in the making. That's a lot of fighters that need to get paid. It's just, I understand it, like you said, for Dylan White and Frampton Warrington. Like, I understand why those fights are pay-per-view. I understand the economics of the situation. But the consumers are just getting fucked over.
Oh, yeah. At the end of the day, it's the boxing fans that are... And there's an argument that these two that we've got going on over here, that, you know, there's obvious signs that Sky are going to blow it out of the water as far as the competition, as these two cards go head-to-head. But you got to think that on any other night, most British boxing fans probably would have bought Frampton and Warrington. So now they've got the dilemma of, I think I'll get the Chisora White. So that's money from Warrington and Frampton that they maybe would have made that they're not going to make now. Mm-hmm. So it's taking a little bit out of the pockets of the fighters. It's, you know, taking money out the consumers' pockets. But it's just an indication, and I guess it's a sort of a downside to the booming market that we've got at the moment over here. That there's only so many dates, there's only so many venues. You know, venues have to be booked up, you know, way in advance or whatever.
It's funny because on the U.S. side, in terms of scheduling, like you're talking about in terms of conflicting schedule, I forget exactly how it played out, but I want to say it was an ESPN card that was moved for the Manny Pacquiao and Broner fight, or it's moved to the Friday beforehand. It wasn't moved to the Saturday, right? There's definitely a hesitation on the U.S. market side of it to really compete with these pay-per-views. It's interesting that the UK side, speaking of Frank Warren and obviously Eddie Hearn, respectively, that they've decided, look, we're going to stop really caring about that and really have this ratings war, this pay-per-view war, and deal with it. That levee is now broken, so to speak, and now the flood water's coming in. It's going to be interesting, 2019, how much more conflicts are going to play out in terms of the scheduling, so to speak.
Yeah.
And bring it back to Eleider Alvarez and sort of wrapping up that topic, and we're going to go to Gary, and he wants to talk about Thurman probably. Alvarez is in an interesting spot here where obviously this is the best deal that he could have ever hoped for. So I cannot do nothing but applaud him because he did exactly what I would want to do in his situation, get a massive guaranteed contract for a lot of fights, but yet a short year, so it's only a 2-year contract. I love that. And on top of that, you still are co-promoted with Yavon Mitchell. You still have that Al Heyman connection, so you can now float in a way that a lot of champions can't, and you have guaranteed money. Unfortunately, I hope you understand, Alvarez, that if you really start pushing for pay-per-views, that's going to hurt, I think, your stock with the fans. And hopefully if, you or one of your handlers are listening, even though I doubt it, take that to heart when you start negotiating fights with Bob Arum and Yavon Mitchell and with Bivol, with main events, etc. Understand that those fights are not pay-per-view, that you are hurting the consumer when that starts to happen. And on top of that, connecting to the conflicting schedule, 2019, I think we're going to end up having conflicting cards and pay-per-views in the U.S. as well. I think there's no way to avoid that with how many fights are obligated from each promoter to their respective networks that they have a contract with. There's just no way to avoid it.
No, exactly. I think with these new deals obviously kicking in and everything like that, I think Eddie Hearn said he's up to, I think Coogan asked him the 2019 sort of, he's like, how many shows do you think? And he said, I think we're up to about 56 Matchroom cards. So obviously that some of those are Italy and, the new markets that he's entered. There's going to be DAZN Matchroom cards. There's going to be obviously the normal UK cards. So he thinks he's up to around roughly 54, 56 cards. then you start thinking PBC. I can't remember their deal.
I want to say it's like 24 Fox events in Fox Sports 1, and then the showtime we don't know.
Yeah.
I think they said something like 1 to 2 cars a month. I'm expecting more than that. On top of that, pay-per-view, which is not included in those numbers, by the way. So make sure to see what happens.
The Showtime Gala pretty soon. Didn't we get that this year, the start of this year?
You know, they haven't really said anything about doing a gala. I'm not going to say, I should rephrase that. They have not said anything specific about doing a gala this year. They've alluded to, I think Steven Espinoza in several interviews have said, we're planning on doing one, but no date, no time frame for when that's being put out. Hopefully it does happen. But then again, PBC is going to be stretched really thin next year. And I think a reason why we haven't heard about a gala for Showtime is because of that. They obviously won't say it, but I think that's the obvious reason why Showtime has not come out and said, hey, we know this next 6 months of scheduling. I don't think Al Heyman knows the next 6 months of his schedule for PBC. There's no way.
Wow, remember, I think what's left in Showtime's existence in boxing? About
3 years.
7 months left?
No, 3 years.
No, wasn't it going to be all over in a year?
Oh, with Eddie, yeah. And now his fight's on Showtime.
Aram co-signed that. He agreed.
Yo, Aram. See, that's why I've been saying, Eddie is the young Bob. He is the biggest troll in the sport, and he's learning a lot of things from Bob Arum. Trust me.
That was if Bob Arum went, yeah, that's right, that's my boy.
Yeah.
Well, young Padawan.
Good one. Good job there. Good job there.
Yeah, right. It's going to be done within a year. But yeah, and obviously, like I say, Fox, Showtime, and you got the ESPN. Obviously, we haven't got to deal with HBO anymore. But
and quickly, the ESPN was 54 events. That's more events than we have weeks of the year.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, obviously, I think Eddie said like we're 56, and Coogan I think was almost like, well, hang on. He's like, yeah, we're going to have competing cards. Obviously, with Eddie, he's got the option of a UK show, and then obviously later that night for like the UK fans, we've got the US show straight after, pretty much. So that's kind of good as far as I'm concerned. But obviously Eddie likes to be at everything, and he can't be in like London and New York within the space of a couple of hours. So, but yeah, the next year's going to be crazy. It's like, wow, look at all that boxing we're going to get, but the product, is it going to get diluted? Are we going to, necessarily get the standard or the quality of the fights that we want, the matchups that we want? Because they've just got to fill out like 175,000 weeks of the year.
They have to they have to fill out so many events, and fighters are owed so many fights per year. It's a lot to juggle. It is a criticism to the market and the industry right now, but I also empathize with the market in some sense. I understand why Eddie and Al Heyman and Bob Arum are taking these deals. These are obviously great deals to take. But I also would now understand why they might be the most stressed people in the entire sport, trying to figure out how to plan everything this year. That's a huge undertaking. We haven't seen this explosion in the sport in nearly 20, 30 years, to be honest. This is the biggest booming era in boxing in some time, and we don't talk about it. The dark ages of the past, that boxing's dead right in the mid-2000s, which was always a lie and a myth. We're long past that with how much boxing content is out there. Otherwise, I don't have really anything else to add to Alvarez pay-per-view and this topic. Do you?
You kind of raised the issue of Heyman sort of letting him go and do it. Obviously, Al Heyman's taking a certain percentage. So, yeah, why not? I mean, what have PBC got on their side as far as light heavyweights? Nothing really, right?
Well, you have the Marcus Brown Badu Jack. That's about it. And because we know with the Adonis Stevenson, which, by the way, he's still in a coma right now. So just prayers and thoughts for him and his family. That's about it for PBC's side, is now Badu Jack and Marcus Brown, from my, top of the head knowledge of that division.
Yeah. So is ESPN really the better fit for that? If you're an Al Heyman fighter, I guess. I mean,
well, again, the deal isn't with ESPN necessarily. I want to make it's with Bob Arum and Top Rank.
Yes, ESPN though, right? But obviously, if purse bids and stuff like that come into effect, you can
well,
go
see, here's
anywhere,
because he is co-promote, and again, we don't know the specifics of the contract, but because it's not, he is a sole top-ranked entity now. He's a co-promoter, right? He's with GYM, obviously Yavon Mitchell from Canada, who does like all of the big-time Canadians, who's in, what's the right term? He has some business ties with Al Heyman. He says Al Heyman advises him even. I would assume that those guys are smart enough to have some sort of language in the contract to where if Alvarez wanted to go fight Badu Jack for some title, he could.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah.
But right now, of course, the division, there's no PBC fighters that have a title. Better Beef has one, obviously on DAZN and Matchroom, and Yavon Mitchell as well. But he won't fight Better Beef because they're training partners, they're friends. They all train under Mark Ramsey, who trains David Lemieux as well. So you have Dimitri Bivol, who's a network free agent, just leaving HBO. Main Events NBC deal fell apart. There's been a lot of talk about them going to ESPN. It would make sense with how many dates they need to fill out. Obviously, Alexander Vajic, who just beat Adonis Stevenson, is a top-ranked fighter, so that's now an in-house fight and a unification that they could make. That's about it, and everything else in the division.
Yeah, like again, it's just the mention of pay-per-view that's sort of made like what there might be one fight that might kind of be worthy of it, but after that, it's back to a normal net. I don't know that I know Bud's done it and things like that, but it's just I guess like the talk of Wilder, like if obviously if they make the Fury rematch, that's going to be pay-per-view. But say, I don't know, in the realms of like
Wilder Brazil,
Joshua sweeps in, picks up the Fury fight for as some kind of fuck you. We're going to do a big fight in the UK. Then Wilder's left with Brazil or maybe else. A Luis Ortiz rematch, but is Brazil pay-per-view. But then I've heard people say, well, then they can do that on Fox. It's great exposure. But who kind of does pay-per-view and then they're off pay-per-view? I don't know that that's necessarily a good look. Do you know what I mean? Once Floyd did pay-per-view, he was pay-per-view. Once Canelo did pay-per-view, he's been pay-per-view, right?
Well, except for now with Canelo.
Well, yeah, but that's...
wow. I just... Oh, my God.
No, that's...
I'm going to pat myself on the back right there. That was just... Oh, that was so good. That was so good.
Yeah, but no one else sort of picked up 365 million to not do it. I'm just saying, once, like HBO, he was a pay-per-view, and then did he...
No, that's not necessarily the truth. Remember, his first fight with HBO was regular HBO boxing.
Once he started doing pay-per-view, was there
again, Rob, I think you don't understand the timeline. So Canelo was over on, I think he technically started his career on HBO, then went to Showtime, and he fought Mayweather on Showtime, he fought Alfredo Angulo on Showtime, he fought Esmeralda Laura on Showtime. All that was pay-per-view. Yeah. Then he went to HBO, fought James Kirkland. Fought James Kirkland off pay-per-view.
Oh, okay. All right. Now, that was my question. Like, yes. I always sort of kind of thought once you've done a pay-per-view, you kind of, that's your pay-per-view.
Yes and no. I think for a vast majority of people, you're probably right. But for some, no. I've definitely known fighters that have gone back and forth from pay-per-view. The UFC does it a lot more regularly, so I know it's different than boxing. It's a different sport and culture, but they do that a lot more frequently. TJ Dillashaw is fighting Henry Cejudo in a champion versus champion fight on ESPN Plus. You know, like that, and they just fought on pay-per-view in their last fight. So who knows? It's a weird time. Like, look, Terrence Crawford's another great example.
Yeah, I knew that one, but that's because it bombed. So
no, not even with Victor Postal, with the Amir Khan fight in that offer, with that being pay-per-view. You understand? Yeah. So I think if we're talking it's 2008 and we're having this show, you're right. But it's not 2008, it's 2018. And I think things have changed. I think people in the industry know it's changed, if you understand my thinking.
But all my thought process is say Wilder got this $4 million guarantee, and then pay-per-view upside, which took him to, I don't know, there's rumors of sort of 8, 10, 12 million.
Mm-hmm.
He then goes fights for free kind of thing, or on free TV on Fox. Great exposure, but can he demand a $12 million paycheck for that fight, or is he going to take a pay cut?
I think he probably takes a pay cut. I'll be honest. If he goes to fights in Brazil.
Yeah, I don't. Fair enough. I just asking those questions because
they're questions that we obviously I think will find out at some point. I mean, because eventually Wilder will have to fight somebody that's not named Tyson Fury and AJ in the U.S. Right? Like he's gonna have to fight a Brazil. He's gonna have to fight these other people, and will that be pay-per-view? I don't know. That his number didn't indicate he's going to be off pay-per-view next. You understand what I'm like? His number was good enough that they could roll the dice with the Dominic Brazil. They could roll the dice with the Luis Ortiz rematch.
Yeah,
and
there's a lot of people think because it was Fury, like, and what the press tour did. All the the Instagram posts. It was everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Like Fury saying, "No, they don't even know you're in your country," or the pushing and the shoving, the this and that. And so there's an element of how much is that pay-per-view, I don't know, won over by Wilder, and how much of it was because of Fury's antics and the story. Because I know a lot of people, I've seen a lot of Americans, they kind of fell in love with the story. Fury, the comeback, the down on his luck, and he's brought himself back, 400 pounds back to fighting weight. And a lot of people can sort of buy into that and feel, go on, good one, do it, the underdog or whatever. But
no, I definitely see the logic behind what you're saying. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying there's enough logic on the other side that they could roll the dice. And like you said, there's enough things and indicators that say that, hey, a Brazil pay-per-view obviously will not do 325,000 pay-per-view buys.
Yeah.
200, 250, I could see that. That's the thing with Wilder now, is that now that he has done a decent number, and now that he sort of, went over that hump, so to speak, in stardom, is he now on a different plateau where the laws of humanity don't really apply to him in that way with stardom. I don't know. His numbers weren't good enough to be completely sure of that, but his numbers were good enough to at least throw that possibility out there.
Yeah, all right.
Let's go to Gary, though, because he's been waiting for like 22 minutes, and we've talked about one topic that spilled into 5. Shout out to Casual Fridays. Gary in Dallas, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Matty. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. Doing good. How are you on this lovely Friday?
He got me to put my work away. I'm done. You said to call in, so that was my cue to start the weekend.
I feel the love.
And Rob, how's everything going over there in the UK?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Gary. All good. All good. Got a birthday today, and my younger kid's birthday tomorrow. Christmas, mortgage, everything's great, man.
Mortgage.
The mortgage. Yeah. Maybe you get Santa Claus to pay for your mortgage. I don't know how that's I wanted to talk about that real quick. All right. First of all, I got to get this all in order. There is way too much boxing on tomorrow. There's 3 cards on.
Yes.
And 2 of them are UK cards, which means that there's 25 fights on the card. How am I watching all these? I know one's on ESPN. What time do they start? And which card is which? And how am I watching this? Because I can't keep this in order.
Okay, Gary, I'm gonna explain to you as best as I can chronologically from what I know. The Carl Frampton Warrington card will start earlier. The undercard will probably start. Your time is what, Central, right?
Yeah.
Noonish. Look at ESPN Plus around noon. Okay, is what I would say.
Okay, so Frampton and Warrington are on ESPN
Plus.
ESPN app.
ESPN Plus, yes.
Okay.
And
that's the main event. And then
no, that's the whole card because that's how ESPN Plus does it.
Yeah.
So the main event probably start around by 4 p.m. your time.
5 o'clock. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Dylan White Derek Chisora fight is on Showtime YouTube. Okay.
It's on Showtime YouTube.
Yeah, their YouTube channel.
I used to watch Tyson Fury fight on.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That starts, I believe, at 5:30 Eastern, so 4:30 Eastern. So the main events will probably conflict, just so you know, unfortunately.
Okay. Now, is the whole card?
No, just the main event.
No, just the main event.
Yes, for the Showtime fight. And then the Fox card, I don't know if they're showing the whole card in the prelims like on FS1. I've not seen that anywhere. Maybe Rob can look that up for me.
Okay.
I think the main card starts at 8 p.m. Eastern. So that would be, 7 p.m. Central. And that will show at least the two Charlo fights. And I don't know if anything else, but I know Rob's looking that up right now.
There's a lot of Carl Crochet fights on that. What's his name? The Cuban guy, the lightweight.
Dominic Brazil. I think the Dominic Brazil Carlos Negron fight opens up the Fox telecast at 8 p.m. Eastern. Okay. F.A. Ajabi is also on the undercard. Again, Rob's trying to look that up right now. I don't know if the undercard's going to be shown along the lines of this, because this Fox show, from my understanding, is sort of a gimme event. Like, this isn't on the actual deal. This is an extra one, sort of like the Canelo-Rocky Fielding fight. So this fight could have a different setup than the events going forward, just to put it as honestly and ignorantly as I can put it.
Okay, so the Warrington, and then what other, the Christopher Rosales fight, the flyweight, which card,
That is the Dylan White Dale Chisora fight, so you will not be able to see that via any legal platform. You will have to illegally stream it or watch it later on YouTube.
Okay.
Yes.
Very quick.
So what else is on the Warrington?
Sorry, Gary. Yeah, Fox card starts at 8 p.m. Eastern time.
And that's it. I don't think they're showing the prelims.
Yeah, I'm trying to shout out to American Promotion. There's watch it live on Fox, live stream.
I'll put it this way, Gary, I believe you're probably savvy enough to know what Fox Sports Go is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would advise 3 p.m. your time to look at foxsportsgo.com and see if the prelims are showing there. Otherwise, I doubt it. I'll be completely honest.
Okay, because there's a lot of good names on that, so I think they'd want to put it out one way or another, right? I mean, like they want to put F.A. Ajabi in front of people. I would imagine. I would think there's got to be some way that they'll air this.
Hopefully we find out some way, and because we will do a live fight chat tomorrow, I'm assuming, Rob, for the fights, White Chisora, because you're watching that.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, we'll see what's cracking.
Because obviously I know you have your kid's birthday again tomorrow, so let me know. But I will at least do one. So I will be doing a live fight chat for White Chisora, maybe Frampton Warrington, doesn't matter, one of them. And hopefully at that time we have some more information about the prelims for the Fox card.
So basically, it starts the ESPN Plus card is going to start around 10 a.m.-ish my time.
Sure.
And then I have boxing moving forward till the Jamel Charlo card. So I have boxing all day.
Yeah.
You wake up till you go to sleep.
Yeah, sit in for 8 hours. Make sure you have a lot of food, a lot of fluids.
Gotta stay hydrated.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, with college football season basically over, my wife thought she was going to get her husband back. Obviously, that's not going to happen, at least this week. We're going to have to push that back.
That's on hold.
Yeah, that's what Christmas is for.
That's on hold. Okay. Yeah, and I wanted to ask Rob about this, because this heavyweight fight, and I'll watch it, but this does nothing for me. And I know the winner's probably going to fight AJ next.
I want smoke!
But this is a pay-per-view fight? You guys, I mean, this is a big deal over there? Because it really, I don't like heavyweight boxing much. It's like my least favorite type of boxing to watch, the heavyweight. But this is a big deal over there? This is moving the needle for people?
Yeah. I think the weigh-in, there was the Sky Sports stream. There was what else was it? Matchroom stream. There was loads of streams, and I think on each one there was like 4,000 people watching on YouTube at times. And it was a great fight the first time round. I mean, it's big here. It's completely sold out. 19,000 tickets sold. I think it fully sold out today. But it shouldn't be pay-per-view. Let's be honest. The card isn't fantastic. I don't think. Carlos Takam has been added to that card. By the way, it sort of snuck in there yesterday. But it's not pay-per-view worthy. But I think at £20, it's not breaking the bank.
And then the other fight, the Frampton fight is pay-per-view too, right? So I mean,
yeah,
you kind of have to pick one or the other. You can't really buy both, right? I mean, I guess you could and watch one later, but who's going to do that? So you
it's not good.
Pick.
No, it's not good, man.
Which one's going to do more pay-per-view shows?
Sky. White Chisora will do more. It's just a bigger machine, the Sky machine.
Really? Yeah. Okay. And I wanted to watch the Christopher Rosales fight too, because I think he is one of the most underrated, overlooked fighters in the world. And that match just had to be the bearer of bad news and tell me that's not going to be possible.
Yeah, I know. I'm big mad about that. I'll be honest. I'm not happy.
Okay. And then I wanted to talk about you guys talking about these PBC fighters who are going to be on pay-per-view, right? And if once they go on pay-per-view, can they go back? If Errol Spence and Mikey Garcia bust like we think it's going to bust, and then let's say Spence fights Porter in the second half of the year, do you think that would be? I mean, do you think Spence is just going to be a pay-per-view fighter moving forward because they don't have the network dollars?
No, I think if one of these next three really bust, we might see a change to the plan. I absolutely believe that. It's going to take, though, a real bust. It's going to take one of these doing like 150,000 buys, 50,000 buys. If any of these do above 250, it's a wrap. We're going to get a lot more pay-per-views going forward.
So, like, let's say the Spence Mikey fight on March 16th, and then let's say that the Tyson Fury Deontay Wilder rematch is already confirmed and set for some time in April.
Mm-hmm.
So they just got you in January for they got you for all these pay-per-view, right? And then you're gonna have to spend the money on the Wilder Fury rematch a month later. It's realistic, I think, to think that Spence and Mikey does about 100,000 pay-per-view buys. I don't think it does as bad as the Crawford fight, but I don't think it does as good as the Ward Kovalev fight, which is a bigger fight. So, especially when you consider how many pay-per-views you're asking me to buy at $70 a pop. So, I mean, I think realistically, more likely than not, that Spence Mikey pay-per-view is going to bust, right? Mm-hmm. So, you're saying that moving forward, if Keith Thurman fights Sean Porter later in the year, you think that would go back to regular Showtime?
Yes, or Fox, one of the two. Yes,
or Fox. Yeah. Okay, good, because asking me for $70 every time you match two of your top fighters on the PBC side, that's a recipe for disaster. Sooner or later, people are going to stop shelling out the money every month. $70 a month. My cable bill is already $200 a month. Now you're asking me for another $70 a month. It's
again. My only hesitation with this point, because I agree on maybe on principle, on terms of long-term stance, that if these pay-per-views don't do well, that Al Heyman and the market will understand that, hey, we can't sustain this, and they will adapt to it. However, the UFC did this for 7 years and never learned from it. And now their ESPN schedule looks like they still haven't learned from it. So I'm hesitant to ever really say that these big-time corporations that are still making a ton of money will change as a result of maybe one event or two events. But I'm hoping that bust, that bomb of a pay-per-view that me and you, I think both agree Spence and Garcia is enough for PBC to understand that. Is enough for them to go back to their fighters and say, look, we have to pay you guys less. We can't pay you guys $3 million guaranteed, another $3 to $4, $5 million on the back end plus upside. We can't do that anymore. The market cannot sustain it. The consumers cannot sustain it.
And this is where Eddie Hearn is trying to keep hammering that point home that, DAZN have got deep pockets. It's going to start getting expensive. It's a great time for fighters. This great time for fighters could end up being a bad time for fighters.
Or a bad time for us. I don't think it's a bad time for fighters.
Well, no, they're still going to maybe make $1 million. So, yeah, I'll poor you. But but all I'm saying is if this sudden boom and these big investments from companies are able to suddenly say, oh, yeah, we can give him $3 million and this, that can't sustain itself if, whereas DAZN, I guess, a subscriber base. So if it does draw in big subscribers, there's obviously a generated monthly income and budgets can be worked from that. And I don't know. I just feel at some point something's going to break and, it's either going to be the consumer saying, look, fuck this, enough's enough. They've done the Fox announcement and the PBC announcement, and straight away you got Wilder Fury. I know that was Showtime, but Spence Garcia, you got Broner and Pacquiao. Just pay-per-views back to back to back, like month after month after month.
And to address what Rob just said about which entity will break first, which aspect of the community, of the culture will break first, it is definitely the consumers. The consumers are the one that will break first. They're the ones that are going to have to push the industry towards a better place and an innovative change when it comes to how we show the sport. Again, I've said that DAZN may not be the name of what we call it in 10, 15, 20 years. It may be some other company that comes in that corners that market, but we're going to have to move to that way. And hopefully 2019 is a year of the consumers really making their voices heard via what they buy and what they view.
That's the only way it can change.
Agreed.
But I agree with what if in the meantime, in the interim, they just change the price point. $75 is, what I'm saying? I feel okay for myself. $75 every month for hit reviews. It starts okay, it's enough already, right? What if they change the price point? We talked about 25, or what if they did 40? What if they did Mikey versus Spence, $40 a pop? I mean, do you think they get a substantial amount of buyers to make up that cost, or do you think that the boxing hardcore is the only one who's going to buy that regardless, and they'll pay $75 for it?
Substantial, I think, is a hard term to throw out there for that particular fight with that particular price difference. I will say this, though. That is definitely a short-term change and adaptation that the industry will probably make in the next 2 years, and I don't think it's going to work. I think it will work for some events.
Okay.
Occasionally, you're going to get a fight that, let's say, like a Wilder Fury. If that was $20, $25 a pop, would 1 million people buy it? Maybe. I think there's an argument for that. Obviously, Tiger Woods, Phil Mickelson, at $10 a pop, did 1 million buys as a pay-per-view. Now, those are big names in the sporting world, so that's not too surprising. But I think that's where you're going to see these sort of very small peaks and very deep valleys, and eventually those valleys are going to become far too frequent, and industry, and again, long-term, will change. I agree that your price change idea, Gary, will be used at some point, but I don't think it's going to be as successful as they will hope.
That's what I was going to say. If Wilder Fury was $25, now obviously it was $75, as we know, it was $75. So 3 times the 25 is made at 300 and something buys is nearly the million. Let's call it 1 million. Now to me, making the same money but doing it in front of 1 million people is better than selling it for 3 times the price and only 320,000 people have got their eyes on the sport that we love. So I think there has to be honestly, I see it, and even though I know it, every time I see it and hear it, I'm like, I can't believe they pay 75, 85, and Floyd, $100 pay-per-view. Floyd made X amount of people buy $100 pay-per-view for a guy that's never had a boxing match in his life, a professional fight, So it's just mind-boggling, or bobbling, as we're talking Wilder.
How much is that in the UK? How much was Floyd versus McGregor in the UK?
It was usual pay-per-view price, 20. Actually,
20.
I think was it $24.99, but it was just a tiny hike. No, it might have just been the normal. I think because I remember reading a report that Floyd wasn't happy. He wanted it to be increased in the UK, and Sky, who picked up the fight, said, "No, this is our price point. We're not changing it for you. We don't change it for this, that, and the other. You know, that is our price point. We're not going to increase our pay-per-views." And he kind of had to go with it because it was. I think Sky picked it up sort of almost last minute, well, not last minute, but enough to do sale. But the deal was done, and Floyd wasn't happy because obviously he wanted that big check coming in from another big boxing market. So, but yeah, it was our usual pay-per-view price.
If you're going to do 40, like I suggest, right, for Spencer and Mikey, you'd have to do almost twice as many, right? They're going to start for 75. To make the same amount of money, you have to do about twice as many pay-per-view buys, right? Does that make sense? At 40. But even if you broke even, like even if you did twice as much, you now put that product in front of twice as many people. So that's a win, isn't it? Like if you took home the same amount of money, but twice as many people watched it,
exactly.
That's a good thing, right? That's a win because they're more likely to buy it next time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree.
So I guess I don't know if it would happen. If twice the amount of people would buy at half the price, but I'm with Matt. I see that fight failing miserably. Which I don't mind because I'm tired of buying pay-per-views, right? Like you asked me who I'd rather see Crawford fight, Khan or Plaza. I'd rather see Plaza because I don't have to pay for it. You know what I'm saying? I can get that one for free. So something's got to give, and if they don't. Yeah, I feel like they already have the model, right? The model is the streaming app, which Canelo, who's the richest guy in sport, the biggest name in the sport, already went that way, right? So if you're Spence or Crawford or Thurman or any of the other big names, don't you say, hey, I want a deal like he has? I mean, hasn't the blueprint already been laid out?
Yes, but again, Canelo's like Jay-Z. Canelo's like Ronaldo. Canelo is one of the, if not the biggest figure in his industry. So he can go to any entity and ask for a huge check, right? Could Crawford do the same with DAZN? Yeah, because I mean, in some marginal way, but not in the same way. I don't think he's gonna get paid like $3 million to fight a Jose Benavidez in DAZN. I don't see that happening. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I just think that maybe Canelo, like in Mayweather, is in such an isolated situation because very few people are of that caliber of stardom. We're talking about the top 0.0001% of the industry that are those fighters.
Crawford hasn't got a country.
Right,
we know Canelo got 26. I know it wasn't on DAZN, but 26 million people in
DAZN got paid for that 26 million though.
Yeah. So 26 million watched in Mexico. So he's got a country. There ain't 26 million people watching Bud Crawford in his own country. So that's just facts.
Well, he's got Omaha, which has about 26,000 people, and they love him. No, you're right. And I'm not saying he would get 30. I'm not saying he would get 30 million a fight, but like if they guaranteed him 3, 4, 5 million a fight.
But Gary, here's the thing:
he fights a year for 5 years.
This is why I said that DAZN in name may not be what we're talking about in 10, 20 years.
Right.
Showtime has already put a lot of money behind their streaming platform, Showtime Anytime, in the last few years. And I admit, I think it works amazingly well. ESPN is obviously investing a lot in their streaming side of it, and their digital streaming side of it. Not only ESPN Plus, but Watch ESPN, I think is a pretty decent job. From speaking as a person that watched most of their content via the digital sphere, via their computer, I use Watch ESPN more so than I ever go on a cable box and watch ESPN. So, I don't necessarily think that DAZN is the one that's going to be able to, the only one that can go and say, hey, look, we're this new streaming platform. We can offer you X amount of money that these other people can't. That's wrong. I think that's fundamentally wrong. ESPN is a massive company. They are backed by ABC, another massive company that is backed by another massive company in Disney. I just think that, again, DAZN pushed the industry in the right way. I don't think it's going to be around in 20 years. I'll be honest. I know maybe Rob might hate that, but I think one of these bigger U.S. corporations are going to take that idea and that UI and that user interface and say, look, we can do it better, and we have a built-in fan base of 100 million people, 200 million people. And that would beat it at the end of the day, in my opinion.
I mean, let's face it. In 10 years' time, Matt, everyone's going to have the mixed combat TV downloaded.
Fact.
We're gonna, you know, like $10 a month. People get the Google Hangout link. They fight in Matt's little studio right there, the big fight. Canelo in there with whoever in Matt's little room there, and where everyone tunes in via Google Hangout. It's gonna be great.
And at Rob's age, you just hope you're still around 10 years from now, right? Because that ain't nothing's guaranteed.
I'll just have.
Yo, Gary, that was so savage.
That was like totally out of left field, Gary. We were having a lovely chat.
Oh my God. Yo, Gary's over here to take over.
I said it last year when I heard you to take part. We're here to take over.
Yo, that's Gary right now with that savage comment.
No, he was more like, I just want to take this opportunity to apologize to absolutely nobody. You know, that one. So, but yeah, thanks for that, Gary. I'll just have less hair. I'll still be here. Fuck.
That's funny because you're not that old, Rob. Like, everyone thinks you're super old, I think, because of the lack of hair and the overall salt and pepper look you have.
Yeah.
But you're a youngin', slightly.
Ish.
It's like, okay, so I'm 35, and Matt makes me feel old. So I know that you're older than me, so I have to make
how much older do you think I am?
Right?
Yo, Gary.
What did it, Gary, how much older do you think I am than you?
You would be early 40s, mid 40s?
I love Friday shows so much.
See, this is worrying because I can't remember if I'm 38 or 39. But not only is the hair going, the faculties are going as well.
All right.
No, I'm 40 next year.
So see, he's not that much older.
All right, the only couple.
Yeah.
Tough paper round, man.
Yeah, I'm about 5 years older, Gary. It's not that much. And Gary, we've seen you, Gary. Gary's acting like we haven't seen him. We've seen what Gary looks like. Gary, you look like you're mid-40s too, homie. I'm just saying.
Whoa.
I'm just saying.
I still got a full head of hair.
Yo, but you got the salt and pepper look going on. I'm just saying. Like, that immediately makes you look older.
I got a few grays. I don't have much salt and pepper.
A few grays. Homie, we saw you. We saw you with our eyes.
I don't know why we've all got nasty. We were having a lovely boxing chat.
No, but it's fun. I love it. So, Gary, let's try to get back to boxing instead of talking about each other's age. You did ask Rob something about his age with streaming, I want to say, right? Like, that's where the question was originally intended.
No, he said I wouldn't be around in 10 years'
Oh,
time.
that's right. Never mind. That was just purely a shot at Rob. There was no question at all about boxing, and there was just a shot at you. Okay.
Yeah, it was just literally you haven't got 10 years left in your life. Because you look old as fuck. I think I got that right, Gary.
That was, I was saying, you know, when you're at your age, you can't take the next 10 years for granted. That's all, you know.
Not in this business.
You're playing with. But I want to talk about the Charlos too.
Okay.
Because I like what Fox is doing, right? Like, they're trying to push these two, and they should both get impressive knockouts, right? They should both look spectacular. Even though I think Tony Harrison is going to make life for Jamel Charlo tough, at least in the first couple of rounds. But they should both get knockouts, and they should both look great. So they're pushing their product. That being said, and especially Jamal Charlo, he's really wasting time. I mean, he's already 28, I think, right? And he's one of my favorite fighters. So I'm not knocking him. I'm just saying, like, he's been, since he moved up to 160, they've really been wasting his time. And I know there's politics involved, and I know there's a bigger picture, but this has been a year and a half now of him fighting nobody. I mean, at a certain point, don't you say, get me Triple G or get me Canelo, or we have to do something different? Like, I have to get out of it. Because
well, I mean, Gary, let's ignore the Matt Korobov fight for a second, and let's pretend it's Willie Monroe Jr. Would the criticism still be there? Because Willie is a legit like top 15 middleweight.
Oh.
He's top 10 guy because he's better than he's better than David Lemieux. So he's top 10 guy.
Okay.
He's right around 10. So
okay.
This is why I look how I look, Harry.
This is
what is? Let's say he beat Willie Monroe. Let's say he knocked Willie Monroe out in the middle round.
Okay.
What does that do to elevate? It still doesn't make him a bigger draw as Triple G or Canelo. It probably doesn't make him a bigger draw as Danny Jacobs. So no, I don't object to the Willie Monroe fight, but like, what does it do for him? It doesn't. Outside of the boxing fan base, who already thinks he's great, it doesn't do anything to elevate his status anymore.
No, that's a good point. I agree with that. Like, it's a win for us hardcores where we sort of like check off the box that yeah, he beat a top 15 middleweight, which he really hasn't done yet. But other than that, that's all it sort of checks off is that oh, he beat a top 15 guy.
So like that takes me back to my original question. I mean, he's waiting for either the WBC to mandate he fight Triple G or he get a shot at Canelo. And I get that. But what if that doesn't happen next year? I mean, how much longer is he going to sit here and waste his time with the Willie Monroes of the world and the Hugo Centennials of the world or whoever he's been fighting? And like, okay.
Well, what would you advise him to do, Gary? I'm not disputing what you're saying. I want to like follow through with it. Like, what do you think he should do then? Let's say that happens. Let's say he doesn't get Triple G next. Let's say he will end up being stuck next year fighting more of this caliber of opponents. Well, if you're his advisor, if you're his manager, what do you tell him?
I know Danny Jacobs is with Eddie Hearn, but he's still advised, right, by Al Haymon, get me Danny Jacobs. Get me the best guy available. And there's plenty of top-notch 160-pounders. There shouldn't be that much of a problem.
But right now, Jacobs is going after Canelo for that unification. Well, if you can't get Jacobs, what's next?
Then get me Triple J. Get me one of those guys and just make it happen. Because I've waited around here long enough.
I just don't think those guys are on the path to Charlo. Do you understand my point here? Is like I understand that Charlo should be fighting those top 5 guys right now. He should be. But I think realistically, the one he should go after is Andrade. Even though there is that, obviously, the network difference, the political difference with who they're connected with. But Andrade is really the guy that has no fights on the horizon. Jacobs is going after Canelo. Triple G's going after Canelo. Those 3 guys seem to be in a little a love triangle there, so they seem like they're off in their own world. Rob Brandt's on ESPN. And you have Demetrius Andrade. Those are realistically the 2 guys, if you're Jamal Charlo, you go after, is Rob Brandt and Andrade, because they seem like they're not tied to any big fight at this moment.
Right, but okay, so Canelo's going to make his move, right? And the whole division waits on Canelo. Mm-hmm. And I have no idea who Canelo's going to fight next. Who do you think it's going to be, right? If I said to you, Matt, gun to your head, who do you think Canelo is going to fight next? Who do you think it would be? I really have no idea.
I'm saying Daniel Jacobs. I've been on the record for that about a week or so. Like I think he fights Daniel Jacobs next.
Then if I'm Jamal Charlo, I go to Al, get me either Triple G or Andrade, and nobody else. I don't want anyone else besides one of those 2 names. I mean, I know it's tough. I know there's politics involved. I know he's waiting for his big payday, but you don't get these years back, right? It's not baseball where you play 162 times a year. You fight twice a year for the most part. And if you're Keith Thurman, you only fight once every year and a half. So, like, each fight kind of counts. And by sticking me in the ring with Willie Monroe and Hugo Centennial, you're kind of wasting my earning potential. I'm not a fan of that.
I agree with you, Gary.
But do you think this is a platform they're using, showcasing these 2 guys in front of the American public to get him a Triple G fight? Is that what they're doing here? Is that their play here?
I mean, it might be a play. I don't know if it's the play they have in mind. The Charlos are in a weird spot. I mean, more so Jamal than Jamel. Obviously, Jamel has the Jarrett Hurd fight on the horizon, so we kind of know what his big fight is this year. But with Jamal, like he is sort of in no man's land right now in PBC. William Monroe was the best other guy in the division in that stable. He's going to have to move to another network or make some sort of arrangement with DAZN, with ESPN, to make a Rob Brandt, make a Demetrius Andrade fight, or potentially try to steal Triple G back and put him on PBC stable, which I still find highly unlikely.
But that's the thing with Eddie, right? I mean, not with Eddie, with Al Heyman. He doesn't have to fight on Showtime or Fox. This is kind of Al Heyman fighters do. Al could take him and put him on DAZN if the money was right. Am I right about that?
Of course he can. From like a contractual legal perspective, of course he can. Like, that's without a doubt. And arguably vice versa with Demetrius Andrade. Like, I don't think he has a DAZN deal. He has a DAZN with Matchroom Boxing, who has a deal with DAZN. There's a difference there. However, Jamal Charlo, or just the Charlo brothers, period, seem to be PBC's next big, like, stars, so to speak. That seems to be where they're putting a lot of marketing dollars behind right now, is those guys, when a few years ago it was the Thurmans, Porters, and Garcias. Now it's the Charlo brothers. Do they want to have a big fight like a Demetrius Andrade, Jamal Charlo fight for the WBO middleweight belt not be on their platform? I don't know. That might be a red line that they don't cross.
Okay, I'm just, I'm looking at it as a fan's perspective, but also like from Charlo's career path, like something's got to change. You're fighting these guys.
You are right, Garrett. You're completely right with those two entities, those two groups. The fans obviously want Jamal Charlo to fight better opposition. I would assume Jamal Charlo wants that. That's all he's been saying for years now. He wants to fight the best. I would assume he wants to fight the best. But we both know that the business side of the game, the politics behind the game, may be big barriers to those fights being made, in my opinion.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
Just kind of come up with a way to make it happen.
You would have to if you're Al Heyman and you're trying to get an Andrade over, or a Canelo over to Fox/Showtime, go the purse bid route. That's what Bob Arum did. You know, he paid a lot to get that Saucedo Hooker fight. Obviously, it backfired for him because Saucedo didn't win. But that was a savvy business move by Bob Arum. If I'm Al Heyman, if I'm anyone trying to get those DAZN fighters, go to purse bid. You have to. And that's where the Triple G fight, obviously, that you mentioned, could play a big factor.
And Charlo, and you might understand how this works, but so Charlo is the WBC silver champion.
So, yeah,
right?
Sure.
Which means, but he hasn't been mandated to fight Canelo. But they're trying to explain how that works, because they're trying to mandate to fight Triple G, and then the winner fights Canelo. But if he fights Canelo because he's the silver champion, he gets a better split. Or how does that all work? Like, I know it economically doesn't make sense for him to take any risk until he gets the Canelo fight, which he's in line for, right?
You're talking about Charlo?
Yeah, Jamal. Yeah.
Look, I don't know what the exact split is between a silver champion and a full champion in the WBC. Whether it's different or if it's similar to like the WBA regular and WBA super like split, I have no idea. I think at this point, if you're Jamal Charlo, even if you're Heyman at this point, you sort of don't care about the money. Like, you need this guy to get over. And to get over, you need to face Triple G. You need to face an Andrade. You need to face one of those guys. So get into that purse bid situation. Give them that fat guarantee. Take the B-side split if you're Jamal Charlo, and just get that moment. You have to at this point.
And then the last thing, have we done picks yet this weekend?
Yes, we did on Wednesday, I believe. But if you want to make picks, you can obviously make your picks.
Yeah, I want to make. Obviously, I'm going to take both Charlos by knockout Although I think the Jermell Charlo with Tony Harrison fight, I think that's going to be interesting. I think Harrison is a skilled enough fighter where through 4 or 5 rounds it'll be pretty even fight, and I think Jermell Charlo will blow him out in the second half, probably stopping round, 10th round. White Chisora. Were you guys all picking White, or I guess I picked White.
So. Yeah.
I don't really think either one of them are that good. You guys are taking White?
I think Dylan White's near top 5 heavyweight, and I think he will win the fight.
But they're probably, I mean, if you get past the top 3 guys, White and Chisora are probably 4 and 5, right? So I mean, they're both probably top 5.
No, stop, Gary. Gary, you didn't think that thought out, did you? You didn't think that thought out quickly. We're going to argue this like the Lemieux
Wilder,
top 10.
Fury and AJ.
Luis Ortiz.
Then White's 4. You're right, Luis Ortiz. Okay,
Joseph Parker.
Probably.
Jarrell Miller.
Ooh, Jarrell Miller, and I love Jarrell Miller. You know, but Jarrell Miller still hasn't beaten anybody. You know what I'm saying? You can't really put Jarrell Miller ahead of guys who've beaten anyone when he hasn't beaten anybody.
But
So
Gary, because we're talking about Chisora being way too high in your rankings. Who wins in the fight, Chisora or Jarrell Miller?
Jarrell Miller.
Okay. Who wins in the fight, Joseph Parker or Derek Chisora?
I think Joseph Parker's trash. Boy, I thought.
Damn.
You want me to say Parker, right? But I don't know that I would. I don't know that I'd say Parker to beat Chisora. I don't think Chisora is that bad.
I'm not saying Chisora's trash. Don't get me wrong, but like you mentioned him like 3 and 4. Like you mentioned him in the top 5 of heavyweights. Like I just don't see him being a top 5 heavyweight. I think Povetkin beats Chisora.
He's a top 10 heavyweight for sure, right? You say he's a top 10 heavyweight?
I wouldn't say for sure, but I would not argue against it. You understand what I'm saying? Like, if you say top 10, I'm not going to argue against that at all. I can see the point. But top 5, no, that's fucking ludicrous, Gary. You are high.
Right, so okay, White's probably 5, right? Because you say Ortiz is 4 and then White is 5. That would be your top 5 heavyweight.
I could see Povetkin slipping in there at 5, to be honest, just to play a little bit of a devil's advocate, But White realistically should be 5 behind Luis Ortiz and those top 3, of course.
Okay, I forgot what my point was. I'll
I did
take
too.
White by knockout. I guess. And then. Who is Rob taking? Frampton? I'm going to take Frampton.
God damn it. God. Gary, come on.
Are you off your tits? Have you been smoking something?
Come on, Gary. Warrington's going to smash Frampton, and I'm a Frampton fan.
Oh, God!
Okay, get out of Ricky Gervais, okay? Come on, Frampton's old. He's old. Let's stop.
He's not that old. What is he, 30? He's not that old. How old is Frampton? 32? He's not old.
That's old for that's old for that weight class, though. You know that, Gary.
Warrington's got what? 6 knockouts in 27 in 27 wins. He's got 6 knockouts.
Yes.
I'm not saying he can't win. I don't think you're saying Frampton is washed up.
I think Frampton has slipped enough in terms of his athleticism. I don't think you'll be able to keep up with the pressure and the volume of Warrington. He won't be able to win 7 rounds. I don't see it.
You just think he's gonna Warrington's gonna outwork him?
Yeah, and win a points decision.
Nah.
Okay. How about you, Rob?
I think Frampton's going to show his class. I think he's going to show his accuracy. I think he's going to show his punch selection. I think he's probably going to catch Warrington coming in. As long as Frampton's on point and he is doing those things, I think he easily outclasses Warrington. To be fair, I really like Warrington. His game, like you say, doesn't really get knockouts, but his volume and everything is impressive. His gas tank and everything. But I just think Frampton on the night will be too good.
Okay, so all right. Not that I was crazy when I said Frampton, but okay.
For the record, by the way, for the record, I think Rob is crazy as well. So at least it's equal craziness here.
Yeah, but at least I'm not alone.
Oh, no. Gary. I'm going to make this very clear. This fight is 50-50 in terms of what I've seen from the fans, our chat. A lot of people are picking Frampton. Like, no, you're not crazy by this at all. I'm just being hyperbolic and funny.
The bookie's picking.
Because I thought I was making another Turbo Terry Flanagan to upset Reese's Prograde pick, which was, in hindsight, an excellent pick.
No, Frampton's the favorite.
Okay.
Frampton's the betting favorite.
Frampton's the bet? I would never get that either. Is he really?
Yes, he's a minus 200 favorite, somewhere around there.
So the people not think Warrington is good? I don't get that. I thought for sure Warrington would have been at least a betting favorite. He's younger and he's coming off a really good win.
I don't know. I think Frampton is a big fan favorite. I think people really like Frampton. Like, even me. Like, this was hard to pick against Frampton. He's always been a very nice guy, ultimate professional. His fights with Leo Santa Cruz are fantastic. He's a guy that has endeared himself to both the U.S. audience and the U.K. audience. I think that's why I think a lot of people are putting their money down on Frampton.
Okay. And I'm not a gambler, but I would bet Frampton figures him out. And Rob's picking him by knockout, too. I would take him on points. Close decision, but I think he outboxes him and wins enough rounds to win the fight. Rob, you taking him by knockout, by stoppage?
I think potentially, but I don't know. I've seen a lot of looks like quite a little bit of action on the draw, but I don't know. I fancy maybe he'll stop him. I just think he'll be too classy, too good for Warrington.
All right, that's all I got today, fellas.
Well, thank you, Gary, for your call. Always appreciate it. Anyone else wants to call in? 323-870-4051. Press 1 to get in the queue. We go to a minor topic, one that Rob just sent me, talking about Fox and PBC promoting, and whether this the undercard will have be shown to the U.S. audience at all or any audience at all. Put this in perspective. If you're listening on podcasts, you won't understand how funny it is right now what you're watching on YouTube. I'm assuming this is PBC.com, right? This is their.
I think it was on Fox's page. I'll bring it back.
It looks like PBC's UI. So
okay.
I could be wrong about that. But anyways, it's the card with the the fight pictures, the details, all that great stuff, right? And the main event, good picture of Charlo looking just like stoic, right? And then versus Korobov, and it says photo coming soon with a grayed out generic silhouette. God damn. Way to go. PBC right there, or Fox, whichever one it is. I think it's PBC, though.
I've literally just found a picture of Korobov. It's not that hard. I know they haven't got it looking, like all the other fighters. It's been done in a certain way. They've all had the photo ops, and it's all been, for our UI to look all classy. But I just love it. It's like photo coming soon.
And it's been like a week. Like, that's the thing. It's not like it's like, oh, this happened yesterday, right?
Yeah,
and not only that, he's been on the card the whole time.
Yeah. He's supposed to be on the undercard. It's like no picture. All right. Oh shit, his main event. Oh, picture coming soon.
Oh, it's so bad. MB is saying that's how irrelevant Matt Korobov is right now. Yes, that's exactly why. And why I'm a little bit worried about this first Fox card and whether it's the best foot to put out, for PBC, to be honest. That best first forward in a way.
I like it. Charlo's is like, the brothers on the same thing. They're obviously, I've seen a lot of fight hype videos of them this week. They're very angry people. Someone asked, are you frustrated? He goes, I'm frustrated. He's real, like, he just wants his shot. I guess Jamal, especially, he was just getting kind of fed up, and he was like, and you guys, he goes, what do you mean me? The cameraman was like, what do you mean me? He goes, if you've got a camera, you're all the same. And I don't know, he's very stressed individual, but I think it was the right people to put on the card, but I don't think they've got the right opponents for this to be Fox's first, wow, check out Fox boxing, PBC on Fox. I like it. The Jagba's on it, but it doesn't look like people are going to get to necessarily see it.
Quickly, Augustus in the chat. Call in, you fucking pussy. Okay, call in, please. Please. I really want the smoke with you because you have just been saying the stupidest fucking talking points I've ever seen. I have never seen a consumer say, yes, please take advantage of me more, corporations. Yeah, you get the fuck out of here, you fucking piece of shit. You're the worst type of fans to make excuses for why.
Be an insult to stupid people.
Nah, I'm gonna keep calling him stupid. It's worth it, okay? Motherfucker. I've never seen anyone make excuses for pay-per-views. I've never seen that before. But hey, Augustus saying, hey, you don't need to buy it. Shit like that. Get the fuck out of here. And by the way, Anti-PBC, great show. It is. Mike Coppinger, good colleague. I've given him his props. We've talked online a couple times. He's a good guy. I met him, I think, maybe once or twice. But hey, you don't have a fucking picture on your website for the main event? Yeah, get the fuck out of here. That deserves criticism. Man, get the fuck out of here. Speaking of getting the fuck out of here, Amir Khan, Kell Brook. Like that transition, Rob? That was a good one, huh?
Yeah, speaking of get the fuck out of here.
Khan saying the Brook fight is very close. Do we care? Do we?
He's also had other things to say as well this week.
We're not gonna get into that. We're not, right? I know. Are you alluding to what I think you're alluding to?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I guess so.
Fugatti, don't put the kid in timeout. He doesn't know. Okay, he needs to sit here and listen to the show and be educated.
Fugatti with some power in the chat. I'm about to put you
on his high horse. Get the fuck out of here, Fugatti.
What? Santa Claus won't come if you misbehave.
But anyways, Rob.
Yeah, we don't have to talk about the other thing if you don't want, but I think
we kind of alluded to it, so we're just to address it. Obviously, Amir Khan saying like that Kell Brook should come out of the closet and all this stuff.
Should be a man and admit that he's gay.
Yeah, when he's also been accused of sleeping with transsexual people, which I have no issue with. But again, it's sort of like really, are you really want to make this criticism? Like that's your shit talking angle? Is that one really? Okay, Amir. Okay, Mitty, call in, defend your man right here. But other than that, I thought it was low brow, low class as usual.
Yeah, I mean, someone asked Eddie about it today. He goes, "I don't want to really get into that." It's
which I don't blame him. I wouldn't have touched that with a 10-foot pole if I was Eddie.
No, but yeah, I think we are going to get this fight. I think it is going to happen. Again, Eddie sort of suggested that these guys are kind of like, because of they fucking like hate each other so much, it's almost like they're a little bit scared to do it because the loser of this fight, it's not going to be a good time for that person, But I think we are going to get it. It looks like Khan's probably going to stay away from the Crawford offer and take this fight. And just please announce it. And then it can stop the whole, if this fight doesn't happen soon, it never will. Or this is like such as should have happened X amount of years ago, blah, blah. Let's hear it's made and let the promotion begin. And you can either get hyped and happy about it or you can still hate on it. But when it's still up in the air, oh my God, my timeline needs to. Oh, Jesus. But anyway, yeah, we'll see. I think it will get done though.
We're going to touch on this great DAZN card. Amanda Serrano being attached to it. On top of that, Jorge Linares, Chris Algieri, and it's going to be Demetrius Andrade versus Akavov. I forget his first name was Alexander Akavov. I believe it was. Could be wrong about that. A guy that fought Billy Joe Saunders a few years back. This is sort of what I'm talking about with the oversaturation effect. And it's going to affect DAZN just like it's going to affect Fox and Showtime and ESPN. It's going to affect the entire industry. We're going to see a lot more of these cards. And we've already seen them maybe a year or so, or I would say maybe 2 years. We've seen a lot of these cards. And it's been building towards this, where, we have all of these fights. None of them are 50-50. None of them are competitive. None of them are interesting in any sort of way. But we have names we care about, like Jorge Linares, Demetri Andrade, Amanda Serrano, Chris Algieri. Those are all names I like to watch. Like, I like to watch all those fighters box, right? Those are fighters that I'm fans of. But these fights and these matchups, I'm not a fan of. I think this is a waste of resources, to be completely honest. Speaking of what Gary said about, what do these names really do for fighters? When you talk about Willie Monroe Jr., who's a top 15 middleweight, what does he really do for Jamal Charlo? What the fuck does Akavov do for Demetri Andrade? Nothing. And by the way, it's Artur Akavov. Thank you, Fat Apples. I knew it was an A. Just messed it up. But anyways, like, what do any of these names do for Linares, for Chris Algieri, for Amanda Serrano? Like, this is all a seeming big waste of time, in my opinion. That we're going to sit there and watch a 9-hour card, as usual, on a streaming platform. There should be no reason that your cards are 9 hours long on a streaming platform, especially with fights that are, none of them are competitive. None of them are interesting in any sort of way. Rob, defend your cousin.
Look, I get it. I get it. That
By the way, you don't have to actually defend it. You can make your own points and have your own thoughts. I'm just fucking.
I can.
Yes, you're allowed to do that. By the way, I don't know if you knew that.
Oh, thank God. Now, look, again, I know we were speculating on maybe subscriber numbers and views and that for the Canelo thing. I think we've got to judge DAZN. I know if you're paying the money every month, you've got a right to say, look, this isn't what I signed up for, or I thought it was going to be a bit better than this, or come on, DAZN, let's get some real competitive fights. But this card's in January, I believe, so that's basically 6 months into DAZN, becoming an app, a streaming service, and putting on fights for obviously the US market. But I get where you're coming from. We want to see good fights, whether they're at the elite level, whether they're a couple of prospects that are going at it, whether it's, we want to see a back and forth, not someone get completely dominated and you're just trying to pick what round this will finish in or whatever. But to a point, every card and every fight can't realistically be that. So you're going to get this, but I think it needs to be spread out more. You should have a prospect that gets the opportunity to shine and kick on and start building that resume a little bit and padding out the record as we've seen it all throughout boxing. But when you start getting to the main portion of the card, I think those dominating fights where you just go A side without even really thinking about it, I think that's got to even up where you go, yeah, I'll probably go with the A side, but that beats the other guy. He's a threat. He's a this. He's a that, and then we can say that A side, wow, what a performance. But when it's someone that you just straight away say, look, the opponent's like 5-1 underdog, you can't start throwing around like, oh, what a great performance. If they go in and do what we expect them to do, you're not, as much as you say, a professional performance, you can't say, wow.
Well, quickly, just to sort of touch on that, like Canelo Rocky Fielding last week, like I'm not as hyped as a lot of people off that performance because he did exactly what I expected him to do in a perceived tune-up, just to make a comparison to that, or an example, so to speak. Another thing, Fat Apples in the chat, saying the thing is you can't always defend promotions putting on great fighters versus weak fighters because fighters pull out other fighters duck or they need tune-ups for injuries, but I agree. Interesting sort of, again, the macro sense of it, right? Obviously, each individual fight has its own context and its own case. For example, Jorge Linares. I think this is his second fight since the Lomachenko loss. Same with Chris Algieri. I think this is his second fight back. This is where we start expecting better fights because you've already had that tune-up. You already had the comeback fight, so to speak. For Amanda Serrano, I don't blame her as much, mainly because the women's boxing is just unknown. So her opponent may be decent, and I just don't know her opponent because she just is not on the radar of any media outlet, period. But for Demetrius Andrade, he's a guy that just won the title due to what Fat Apple was just talking about with the injury, not with injury, but a fighter pullout with Billy Joe Saunders. Won the title against Walter Katandoka, and now he's fighting Artur Akavov. This isn't good, and we take it from from a macro perspective. If you start having 12, 15, 20, 30, 40 of these events, eventually the consumer starts wanting to tune out because the quality of the content starts to decrease. That's why I've criticized the card coming up for PBC, because I think that's a lot of tune-up showcase fights. I understand the context of some of those fights, but again, as a whole, we can't take too much of that. The consumers cannot handle that. They will reject it. We have, and I just think it's something that we need to figure out. And so, sort of pieces together, more sort of tune-ups. Jose Ramirez versus Jose Zapata, finalized for ESPN February 10th. Another fight that I just could care less about, I'll be honest. Like the entire first quarter of the schedule of next year are matchups I really don't care about. Maybe the only one, surprisingly, is like a Pacquiao-Broner fight. Like a Badu Jack, Marcus Brown. I think that card's pretty good. But across the board, I don't have a fight off the top of my mind that's like, yes, that is the fight I am looking forward to. There's nothing on the schedule. It's all showcases right now from what we see. PBC side of it with their Fox schedule, it's all their A sides getting tune-ups. I would assume DAZN is going to struggle in the first quarter next year just because that's what it looks like to be. ESPN, it's going to be the same thing. If we get Jose Ramirez versus Jose Zapata, if we get Terrence Crawford versus the Collazo, like none of these fights are great fights. None of them.
I think it's interesting thinking back. Wasn't Big Baby Miller possibly supposed to be on this Andrade card as well? But is Andrade the headline in it now?
That's what it looks like. They've released a poster.
Yeah, so seen a lot of Jerome Big Baby Miller on Sky Sports today. He's over here in the UK right now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Are we getting Anthony Joshua's US debut?
Yeah. I definitely think that's a possibility.
Supposed to be on this card. I'm sure he was supposed to be on this early January card.
I think you're right. I'm trying to forget what the excuse was, why he couldn't be on it. But I think you're right. And obviously, I've been a big fan of the whole conspiracy theory of AJ going to MSG on the April date, and then Eddie filling in, X, Y, and Z for Wembley, whether it's Khan or Brook, which seems to be close. And what was the other one I brought up? I brought up another fantasy.
Callum Smith.
Yes, Canelo, Callum Smith, and Wembley. There's a lot of things that could materialize out of nowhere, in a sense.
I think,
but hopefully it does. We need it. We need those fights, those big fights, to materialize. We need the Wilder Fury rematch to be official and have a date. But all that looks to be in the second quarter. You know what I mean? All that looks to be in April, May, June, July. Yeah.
I mean, it's early yet. We'll see. I think Tank and Mahrez is February, right? I think. I'm not saying you need to be excited about that. I'm just trying to help out with that early schedule. But fights get made. We'll see. Wonder if when we'll see Usyk back out and when we'll see, there's plenty of other fights. I think Eddie listed his fights he wants to make in 2019. He did say Usyk versus Andre Ward, but I don't think we're going to see that. But
hopefully not.
Yeah, just very quick. I'm not trying to defend the Andrade card, but
I smell a defense coming. I smell a defense coming.
I mean, yeah, his fight, but this guy's. I just looked him up out of interest, and he's I think number 8 in the WBO. He's number 30 in the world.
No, Rob.
We've seen it loads of times when a guy's won a title and then they get a nice, easy, voluntary defense.
Of course, don't get me wrong, but let's be honest here. Andrade won that title against somebody that was not the champion. He won a vacant belt.
Yeah.
So the laws of what the consumers are asking are different. Same with Charles Martin when he won his vacant belt against the Glassvov, whatever the fucking name was, right? The guy that tore his ACL mid-fight. We expected Charles Martin to step into a big fight right after that. Why? Because he won his vacant title off of a nobody, similar to Demetrius Andrade. Charles Martin went straight into the AJ fight, even though he lost. Massive respect to that. Andrade is arguably facing a lesser opponent. Even though we didn't know Walter heading to that fight, I can tell you right now, Walter is 10 times the fighter that Akavov is. Okay? A fat Billy Joe Saunders that was coming off the juice, allegedly, could beat Akavov with his eyes closed. Like, come on. Like this, the guy is a 5'4" heavy middleweight that has like mutton chops. Like, get the fuck out of here, Akavov. Get off my screen. You don't belong anywhere near a main event. He doesn't. He doesn't belong anywhere near my television screen or my streaming app. Akavov does not deserve to be on that platform. Period. Get off my fucking TV, please.
Matt stats. He's 5'9.5" according to Box.
Yo, but he was short though, right? He was short. He's my height, dog. Come on.
Oh yeah, that is short.
I'm telling you, I'm a short dude. He's short. It's ridiculous. But anyways, don't need to dwell on that because it's a bullshit card that doesn't really deserve much attention.
Yeah, and it's getting late.
Oh, shit, it is. Oh, my God. We are not going to get through all these topics. So, Gary, it looks like you were right. No MMA today. I'm going to have to change the thumbnail and the title. It is what it is. Get your fucking air horns out of here. Couple last topics, and we're going to get out of here, actually, because it is getting late. Solomon Barrera making a... And Anthony Yard alluding to on Twitter that they are fighting each other. Anthony Yard coming out saying that he has a fight in February. Solomon Barrera replying to him and saying, Anthony Yard, looking forward to February, my friend. Let's do it. It seems like there is some whispers about this fight being announced soon. I'm pretty happy if it does get made. I'll be honest. I think that's a fantastic step up for Anthony Yard, a huge step up in my opinion. Rob, bring it over to you. Thoughts on your man, Anthony Yard, potentially making the step up?
Yeah, if he takes it. He's been rumored to have been offered the Buatsi fight, which you think, is it technically easier?
But see, I don't want the Buatsi fight right now. Like, that's way too soon.
No, I get it. But yeah, if he takes it, then great. Yeah, that's a lot of people have been saying it's about time he fought a live body. He's had quite an easy route up to now. A lot of people have said, and this will be a test. Let's see what he's really made of, because I think he's. To a point, had it fairly easy up till now. He hasn't really been stretched a great deal, but yeah, I like it if it gets made. A real test for the young Anthony Yard, and let's see what he's made of.
Couple last topics I'm going to run through as quickly as possible. David Benavidez, sort of coming out of the darkness of his cocaine sabbatical, whatever it may be. Saying that he has sparred 150 rounds with Gilberto Ramirez back in the day for the first Jesse Hart fight. And now that obviously, both their mirrors look very good against Jesse Hart in the rematch. He sort of called him out and said, I would love to fight Zurdo. We're friends. It would be an all-Mexican fight. And I have to admit, I love that potential. Moving on, Ted Cheeseman versus Sergio Garcia on February 2nd for the EBU 154 belt at the O2. Obviously, in the setup for the Anthony Fowler fight going forward. And moving on from that, just to one of the big topics I alluded to at the beginning of the show, the Radchikov Anti-Doping Act has been introduced to the U.S. Senate by Senators Sheldon Whitehouse and Orrin Hatch. Shout out to Orrin Hatch, the fucking vampire. Basically, this is now an attempt to set standard punishments for any sort of defrauding of international committees and competitions when it comes to PEDs. Obviously, this will have a trickle-down effect for amateur boxing on an international level, especially with now the U.S. looking to really pursue legal action against the Russian USADA program. I forget what the exact term, like it's RUSDA, I think is their acronym, and obviously WADA now reaccrediting them, and the apparent conflict that has brought in PD regulation. But Rob, that is it for topics. If you want to run down any of them really quickly, and we can get the fuck out of here.
Cheeseman. Cheeseman, obviously. Eddie Hearn's tweet really spun me through a fucking loop. I thought he was fighting Sergio Martinez at one point.
Yeah, I was hyped. I was hyped.
That was like deal terms agreed with Maravilla Box or whatever his Twitter handle is. So basically, terms agreed with Sergio Martinez for Ted Cheeseman. I was like, what the fuck? And it said to fight Sergio Garcia. I was like, wait, let me read that again. This is now I was like, so terms agreed. So it's like Martinez, this dude's manager. Is it? I was like, what the fuck? That really? I was like, I think I texted to like you when we got through in the chat, and I was like, yo, Ted Cheeseman versus Sergio Martinez.
I freaked out.
Hold that thought. Hold that thought. I think I misread that motherfucker. But so that's good. And obviously, if Fowler keeps winning, they're on a collision course. I think that will also be for the vacant British title. So, Fowler and Cheeseman meeting at the right time. I think Fowler needs to be in with a proper fight. Potentially going to come away. What would it be? Maybe in his 11th fight as a pro, he could be the British and European champion. So, all to play for. I really like that fight. Obviously picking my man, Anthony Fowler. But, and on the PED thing, whatever. Is it really going to make a difference? Who knows?
I mean, obviously it's not official yet. It's just to go through its process in Congress. But it will be nice. Like, it's just another thing that, and not only for boxing, just international, like Olympic sports, like the fact that the U.S. now has, or at least theoretically will have, some legal sort of jurisdiction in a way against any sort of defrauding of those competitions, which is obviously rampant. And with the apparent sort of demise of WADA that is coming in the next couple of years, I'm not surprised the U.S. is sort of trying to figure out how to deal with the litanies of scandals that will come out because of that. When we find out the real level of corruption with PD regulation worldwide from the IOC, from WADA, it's going to be a bombshell that I think people really aren't ready for. But moving away from that, yes, Rob. That is it for the show. Quickly, shout out to Augustus Berg, who this entire show has shit on us, said that we're awful, blah, blah, blah. PBC's way better than us, and yet you are still watching and commentating on our live chat. I just want to put that out there. That I hope you understand that dynamic.
Yeah, that's great.
You understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
I don't think Augustus does, unfortunately. But anyways, I am Matt the Hipster Hunter. Final thoughts. Alvarez getting the bag from Top Rank. Cannot blame him. Hopefully the consumers are not really hurt so much because of that. A litany of fights being rumored, announced. We're going to get to all the MMA topics tomorrow sometime. Patreon members out there, go into your inbox. We will do a Patreon show, or I should say I will do a Patreon show tonight at some point. Rob will be asleep probably. And we're gonna talk about some things. We're gonna just obviously go to the championship rounds, topics and questions posts. Write your topics, questions. We're gonna talk about the sport as well, but talk about Patreon as a whole. What's gonna happen? What's changing? And what's gonna be added to it? For those that do not know, I have officially left TBV again. I'm not gonna really talk about it. That's private. But MCR takeover is here.
I said it last year. We're not here just to take part. We're here to take over.
We're here to take over. So Rob's here with me, and some other people are here behind the scenes, and it's gonna be a lot of content coming out to a YouTube channel near you. By Matt Hipster Hunter. You can find me at Matt Hunter MCR all platforms. And shout out to Real Nija in the chat. She's never here anymore. It's sad. Rob.
Yeah, shout out to the TBV rejects. It is what it is. Whatever. Yeah, you can find me Instagram and Twitter at UKRobMCR. Yeah, I mean, maybe Matt, if you do a post and the patrons can maybe say what they want from the Patreon, or you could do that in there. But we want to obviously try and give you guys what you want, so it gives an incentive for you to send that maybe the price of a sandwich, whatever it is, anything, a cup of coffee. I know that's have I just ripped off a different channel for what they say, but yeah, I don't know how much a cup of coffee costs, to be honest, in America. No clue, but
it's like $3.
Is it $3? That's strange.
Give or take. Like, if it's a small, like $2, right? Like maybe $1.50. If it's a large, maybe like $4.50.
Not like that. Yeah. A bucket of coffee, if you want to pay for that, that would be great. No, but we're trying to grow. We're trying to expand. We've got some ideas for you guys, and in the new year, I want to try and get to some fights, and get some coverage, and we want to get some interviews and that. But we can only sort of do that thing if we sort of expand and the channel grows and the subscriber number, grows. So, tell your friends that who are interested in the sports, in the the MMA and the boxing. Obviously, there's more boxing ones than there are MMA ones, but yeah, maybe. But yeah, we want to be able to give you the best that we can give. So that takes a little bit something on our part as well. So like on your part as well. So as patrons, we really appreciate it. But,
and again, $1 a month, $12 a year. If 30% of our subscribers on YouTube did that, we can pay for Rob to go to London, to go to Sheffield, to go to Manchester, go wherever, and get you guys content in the UK. Obviously, help pay me to go to Riverside, to go see Mike Garcia, go see Gerbo Thormir, to go to Vegas, to go to the Mayweather Gym, whatever it may be. It does take some financial investment, so to speak, and that's where you guys listeners come in. Again, $1 a month. It gets you extra content, and trust me, by January, the amount of content patrons are going to get is going to be astronomical compared to other platforms on boxing, guaranteed. Very quickly, Sample King saying, how can international listeners call in? Sample, it's in the description below. Email me, mixedcombatradio@gmail.com. If you need the link, again, the link's in the description below. Email me, get a free international permanent call-in link. We will try to get Skype up, hopefully in the new year, but it does take equipment. It does take more stuff, unfortunately, that we do not have, so that we need that. But anyways, like I said, you can find us exclusively on MCRNet going forward. Hashtag Mixed Combat Radio. Pay the man, Shirley, and we're going to be right out of here. Peace.
Later.
Are you off your tits? Have you been smoking something?